So you want to learn something incredibly useful. Well, today we are going to be talking about some basic Nepali phrases. Especially if you're thinking about traveling to Nepal, this could really come in handy.
Yeah, and our guide for this is an article by David Ways. Now, he's written several guidebooks about Nepal, so yeah, he's definitely the expert.
He is, and we should probably mention right off the bat that our pronunciation might not be perfect.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to try our best. But David has actually provided a list of resources in the show notes for those of you who want to hear the real deal. Yeah.
Exactly. From native speakers. But I thought one of the interesting things that Dave pointed out was how, while Nepali or Nepalese is kind of like the main language you hear about,
Right.
Nepal actually has over 120 languages spoken within its borders.
Yeah, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Nepali is spoken by over 2/3 of the population. So it really is like the common tongue. And you want to also hear it referred to as Gorkhali. And then there's also, Nepalese Bahasa or Newari, which is pretty interesting too.
So Nepali and Nepalese, are those interchangeable? I mean, I know David's article sort of mentioned that there was a move in 2016 to officially recognize both.
Yeah.
But then there's Newari, and that sounds like a completely different thing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a distinct language.
Yeah.
And it's mainly spoken by the Newari people in the Kathmandu Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a really long history there. I mean, really ancient.
So it's almost like a little time capsule.
Okay. Linguistically, yeah.
So let's talk about some of the phrases that tourists might actually use. Obviously, the absolute essential greeting
Sure.
is Namaste.
Yeah, Namaste. And that's more than just hello, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sort of like encompasses respect, a recognition of, the divine in another person. It's a really lovely greeting.
It is. And if you want to ask someone, what is your name? The formal way to say that is Tapay ko nam ke ho.
Yeah.
But I think you might also hear Timron ke ho.
You might. That's more informal. If you're talking to someone you know really well.
Yeah.
Or someone younger than you.
Right.
But Tapayko shows a little more deference. And to answer that, my name is Dillinga would be Miro Nam Ho.
Okay, so that's interesting that there's like a formality difference there.
Yeah.
Then there's how are you, which is Timlai Santai Cha, and thank you is Danyabad. And I imagine those two are going to get a lot of use.
You use those a lot, yeah. Danyabad, especially, really important just to show your appreciation.
Yeah. And then the basics, yes. Hajur can be China or Hina.
That's right. Either one. But generally China sometimes implies like is not or doesn't exist. Yeah. Hina is a bit more of just a straight no to a question.
Okay.
But yeah, either one.
Good to know. Okay, so let's get to some more practical ones.
No.
If something is good, it's Ramro. And if it's bad, Naramro.
Right.
Clean is Safa. And the opposite, dirty, is Fohar.
Oh.
So hopefully we encounter a lot more of the Ramro and Safa.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, just dealing with language barriers. Do you speak English? Would be Tapai Angriji Bol Nahuncha. And if the answer is no, or if you just simply don't understand something, Male Bujina, I don't understand. Which I'm sure will also come in handy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one to have. I've used that one many times.
Many times. And then, of course, the essential, where is the toilet?
Right.
Toilet katacha. I imagine that's pretty high up on the list of things that people need to know.
Top of the list.
And then how do you get to Cree would be Kasarihana.
Exactly. Just fill in the blank there. Yeah.
And then for directions, left is Vaya, right is Daya, straight ahead is Sita.
And hopefully you won't need Mahare, which means I'm lost.
Right. Although if you are lost, at least you know how to say it.
At least you can say that.
There is a phrase that's a little bit more emphatic, Yaha Batahat,
right,
which means get lost or go away.
That's a good one. Yeah.
David does add a little caveat there to only use that when politeness has run its course.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just for practicalities of like shopping, how much is this? Yiga Kodi Parcha. And then if you're looking for a place to stay, do you have rooms available? Would be
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Very good.
And then for dietary restrictions, I'm a vegetarian is Mamasu Kandina.
Right.
And I don't eat pork is Mabangur Kadina.
Uh-huh.
And then some very basic food words. Food is kana. Water is paini. Tea is chia. And coffee is just coffee.
That's right.
Some things are universal.
Some things are.
I think it's also important to note that David points out, using phrases like Namaste and Dhanyabad really shows you're making an effort.
Absolutely.
And it can enhance your interactions.
Absolutely. I mean, even just those very basic phrases, it shows that you're trying to connect with the local culture.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's get to numbers. David says this is really important, especially if you're, negotiating prices in the market.
It is very helpful. Yeah.
Which, let's face it, we all are.
Oh, yeah.
So 1 to 10, eki, teen, char, pach, cha, sat, ath, no das.
And then if you need to go a bit higher, 11 to 20, you have egara, bara, taira, chara, pandra, sora, satra, atara, unais, bees.
Okay. So then once you get into the 20s,
yeah,
it looks like you start using kais.
Not kais.
So 21 would be ekais, 22 bays, 23 tays, and so on.
Exactly.
And then the round numbers, 20 is bees, 30 is teas, 40 is chalas, 50 is pachas, and 100 is saya.
And I think even just attempting to use, the local numbers, it shows a willingness to engage,
Yes.
beyond just, a purely transactional level. So you might even have a more positive interaction, a friendlier interaction when you're in the market. Now, David also talks a bit about the Newari language, which is also sometimes called Nepal Bhasa.
Right.
And, as we mentioned earlier, that's a separate language spoken by the newer people who have a very long and rich history in the Kathmandu Valley. And in fact, he points out that there are even different dialects of Newari.
That's right.
Spoken in Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, and Patan.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a very localized and rich language. It's quite fascinating.
So while you can definitely get by speaking Nepali, especially in the tourist areas,
right,
he points out that using Newari is a sign of great respect.
Absolutely.
Within the newer community. So, making even just a small effort can go a long way.
A very long way, yeah. Much more so than even speaking Nepali in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
It really shows that you're, appreciating their cultural identity and their, unique language.
So what are some basic Newari phrases that travelers might want to learn?
Sure. So for hello, you can say Jua Halapa.
Okay.
And to ask someone, what is your name? It's Changu Nachu.
Got it.
And if you want to introduce yourself, my name is Yuguna, would be Jigunaka, or you fine, would be Hafula. And then thank you is Subai.
That's so interesting. Yeah. It sounds like, even attempting that would probably be really appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
David also has some specific tips for, travelers using the Nepali language. One is if you are experiencing any unwanted attention or harassment, he says you can just simply say China or Haina, which, as we learned, means no, and then continue walking. Just a very simple...
Yeah, very non-confrontational, but clear.
Yeah, a clear way to assert yourself. And then, of course, he says, knowing your numbers can be really helpful when bargaining.
Absolutely.
Which, as we already talked about, is essential. He also suggests downloading some MP3 Nepali phrase resources.
Yeah.
He mentions the one from World Nomads, so you can listen and practice while you're on the plane or on a bus.
That's a good idea.
And he also says that while a lot of Nepalese people in tourist areas speak English, making the effort to learn even basic Nepali can really go a long way in terms of, showing respect and building connections.
It really shows you're going the extra mile.
Yeah.
And that you're really trying to engage with the local culture.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of, the takeaway here is that even making a small effort to learn some of these phrases can really enhance your trip to Nepal. It's about respect. It's about making those interactions go a little bit more smoothly. And it's about, really having that deeper cultural understanding.
Absolutely.
And for those of you who do want to delve a little deeper into the language, David Weiss has a list of resources in the show notes, so you can check those out.
It really makes you think, doesn't it, about how learning a few phrases in a local language can really transform your travel experiences.
It really does.
Not just in Nepal, but really anywhere you go.
Anywhere you go. And if you are planning a trip to Nepal and want a ton of information, be sure to check out David Weiss' website, The Longest Way Home, and his guidebooks.
Absolutely.
They are fantastic resources for planning your trip.
Absolutely. They really are.
Well, that's it for our look at basic Nepali phrases. This has been helpful, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.